Hello everybody, welcome back to Book of Kings, where we discuss topics such as history, religion, philosophy, psychology, culture, and more, and the way that they all interact with one another. Don't forget to like, leave a comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to receive a notification every time I release a new video. Hope you enjoy. The region of the Eastern Eurasian Steppe has given rise to various great nomadic peoples and empires who have had profound impacts on the course of the history of Eurasia, such as the Xiongnu, Xianbei, Gokturks, and Uyghurs. However, there is one group whose impact has been so profound that its name would become synonymous with the region, and those people are the Mongols. This is the story of their history. While the Mongols would arise in the Eastern Eurasian Steppe in the 13th century, their origins before that are a bit more obscure. They are believed to have originated from the ancient Donghu people of northeastern China, who were contemporaries of the powerful nomadic confederation of the Xiongnu, and it is believed that the Mongolic languages would have their origins within the Donghu. Following the defeat of the Donghu by the Xiongnu, one branch of the Donghu, the Xianbei, would survive and eventually come to defeat and overthrow the Xiongnu and replace them as the dominant power in the Eastern Eurasian Steppe. Upon the collapse of the Xianbei state, their state would split into three primary groups: the Rouran, who would form the Rouran Khanate, which would succeed the Xianbei as the dominant power of the Eastern Eurasian Steppe; the Khitan people, who would later form the powerful Liao dynasty, which would dominate the steppe and northern China; and the Shiwei people. It was one branch of the Shiwei people, the Mengu Shiwei, who are believed to be the direct ancestors of the Mongols. The Mongols would rise to power at a time when the Eastern Eurasian Steppe was not dominated by one singular power, as it had been previously by the likes of the Xiongnu, Xianbei, Rouran, Gokturks, Uyghurs, and most recently the Khitans of the Liao dynasty, as the region was dominated by various different Mongolic and Turkic-speaking groups such as the Naiman, Mergit, Tatars, Karahites, and Hamag Mongols. It was the last group, the Hamag Mongols, who would rise to power and unify the other tribes of the Eastern Eurasian Steppe under the leadership of Temujin, more famously known as Genghis Khan. Once he had united the eastern steppe peoples inhabiting the area roughly corresponding to modern-day Mongolia, Genghis Khan would turn his sights on the powers in the lands abroad. The first target would be the Sisya, or Western Xia dynasty of the Tangut people, who after conflict from 1205 to 1209 would declare their allegiance to the Mongols. The Mongols employed a brutal carrot-and-stick approach to conquest, generally initially offering peace and the population being spared from violence in exchange for voluntary surrender. For nations who resisted, however, the Mongols would engage in the wholesale massacre, or at minimum enslavement of the population. Those who willingly surrendered were incorporated into the Mongol forces. Genghis would rearrange his army based upon loyalty, regardless of ethnic origin, in place of the previous traditional clan-based divisions within Mongol society. This would result in the loyalty on part of the rulers of vassal states to the Mongol Khan, without the need for formal treaties, as well as multi-ethnic armies which ethnic Mongols only made up a minority of. The Mongols would additionally turn their attention to the ethnic Jurchen-ruled Jin dynasty, which dominated northern China, and would capture Beijing in 1215, reducing the Jin to a rump state between the Mongols to the north and the Song dynasty to the south. The Mongols would now direct their attention to Central Asia, first setting their sights on the Kara-Khitai state. The Kara-Khitai, under the rule of Naiman prince Kuchlug, would invade the realm of the Karluk Turks, who would become vassals of the Mongols. This would prompt the Mongol conquest of the Kara-Khitai and the ultimate capture and beheading of Kuchlug. With the territory of the Kara-Khitai under Mongol rule, the Mongols would now share a border with the Persianate, Turkic Mamluk-ruled Khwarezmian Empire. Following the execution of Mongol emissaries, Genghis would wage a war against the Sultanate from 1219 to 1225, taking the major cities of Bukhara and Samarkand, as well as the capital of Urgench, gaining control of the Central Asian portion of the empire. This would be regarded as one of the bloodiest wars in history, with estimates of casualties within the Khwarezmian Empire ranging from 2 to 15 million people. The Sisya would once again incur the wrath of the Mongols from 1226 to 1227 due to their refusal to assist the Mongols in their conquest of the Khwarezmians, bringing the Sisya dynasty to an end, resulting in mass civilian casualties, with Genghis Khan calling for the complete eradication of the Sisya. It was in the same year of 1227 that Genghis Khan would die, being succeeded by his son Ogedei. Ogedei would gain control of the majority of the rest of Iran, with many dynasties in western and southern Iran voluntarily submitting to the Mongols and agreeing to pay tribute in order to avoid the carnage which had occurred in the Central Asian portion of the Khwarezmian Empire. Ogedei would once again turn Mongol attention to the Jin dynasty, conquering the dynasty in 1234 with the assistance of the Chinese Song dynasty, who had allied themselves with the Mongols. The Mongols would turn their attention westward again, conquering and destroying the kingdom of the Volga Bulgars in 1238. With the Mongol Empire now bordering Russia, the Mongols would conquer the various Russian city-states and principalities one by one, with Russian resistance coming to an end in the year 1240 following the fall of Kiev. The dynasties of the Caucasus and Anatolia would come under Mongol rule, with the conquest of Georgia being completed in 1238 and the Seljuk Sultanate of Rum submitting to the Mongols as vassals in 1243. As Mongol forces advanced further west into Europe and the Muslim world, these advances would come to a halt with the death of Ogedei Khan. Ogedei would be succeeded by his son Guyuk. His reign would be short-lived, however, as he would die 2 years later, being succeeded by grandson of Genghis from his son Tolui, Möngke Khan. Möngke would continue the military expansion of the empire, namely the conquest of the Muslim world and China. He would task his brother Hulagu with the conquest of the Muslim world, with Hulagu beginning his campaign in 1255, conquering the Nizari Ismaili state of the Order of the Assassins in 1256. He would then make his way to Baghdad, the capital of the Abbasid Caliphate, which he conquered in 1258, massacring the city's inhabitants and putting the caliph to death, thus bringing the caliphate to an end. Hulagu would be given dominion of the Middle Eastern portions of the Khanate, earning the title of Il Khan, or Lesser Khan. The Mongols would continue their campaign through the Muslim world, making their way through modern-day Syria, before ultimately being routed by the army of the Mamluk dynasty of Egypt at the Battle of Ain Jalut in 1260, marking the western limit of Mongol expansion in the Middle East. Similarly, around the same year, another brother of Möngke would wage a similar successful campaign in the east against China. That brother would be Kublai. While Kublai would initially lead the campaign, Möngke would take command in 1257. This decision would prove to have a pivotal effect on the Mongol Empire, with Möngke being killed in battle in 1259, resulting in the need for a new Khan to be selected. That Khan would be Kublai Khan. With the Mongols already possessing dominion over northern China following their previous conquests of the Jin and Sisya dynasties, Kublai would proclaim himself Emperor of China in the Imperial Chinese tradition, claiming the mandate of heaven and establishing the Chinese Imperial Yuan dynasty, thus denying the mandate of the Song dynasty in the south. Kublai would complete his conquest of China in 1279, bringing the Song dynasty of China to an end. At this point, the Mongols had built an empire stretching from China and Korea in the east to Russia and Ukraine in the northwest, and Iraq and parts of Turkey in the southwest, forming the largest landlocked empire in world history, and the second largest empire in history, second only to the British Empire. Despite the unprecedented brutality of the Mongol conquests, the Mongols, beginning under the reign of Genghis Khan, would enact a policy of religious tolerance. Religious leaders would be exempt from public service and taxation, and nearly every religion would gain Mongol converts, despite Genghis and large numbers of Mongols continuing to practice their shamanistic faith of Tengrism. There would be limits to this tolerance at times, however, as Mongol leaders such as Genghis and Kublai would forbid Jewish and Muslim kosher and halal ritual slaughter, as well as the practice of circumcision. The incorporation of the diverse array of conquered peoples into the Mongol Empire allowed for the dissemination of new ideas, including technological and economic advances. Further, the unification of such a large swath of land into one empire would result in a relative peace referred to as the Pax Mongolica, which in conjunction with the Silk Road trade routes being under Mongol control would result in a period of increased trade and commerce. This relative cohesion would not last forever, as internal division and civil war within the Khanate would lead to the fracturing of this vast empire into multiple Khanates, each with their own distinct political and cultural character. Tune in next time to find out more. Thank you for watching. This has been another Book of Kings video. Don't forget to like, leave a comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon to receive a notification every time I release a new video. And if you enjoy Book of Kings content and would like to support the channel, feel free to donate to the Book of Kings Patreon account. Link is provided in the description.